Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome to a video unlike any other video I have ever done, because I have been sworn to myself to never get political on my channel. And while today I'm going to do everything I possibly can within my power to drive a point home to all of you, including those of you who only hear what you want to hear, I am going to try to make the point that I don't care who you voted for, and you shouldn't care who I voted for. And I like you either way, because you're an American, you live in this country, and we're all in this ridiculous mess of a world together. And while there's so much wonder and amazement and greatness out there, there are challenges that polarize us to an extent that people who otherwise would be great friends don't be friends anymore, don't have conversations about politics, because we've gone so diametrically opposed with each other that we've decided that there's people we won't even like, as though they aren't even part of our own country. It's ridiculous how bad things have gotten, and I never want to be that guy that gets into politics and fire hoses all kinds of people at once on my channel and alienates them from my videos, when I can tell you, regardless of who you voted for, if you watch this channel, you enjoy and appreciate the content, then I love you to death, and we can hang out, we can have a beer, and we can BS about anything but politics. I will tell you, many of you have seen me on the road out there driving with a bunch of my buddies. Probably for a good 6 to 8 months of the time I was hanging out with most of my friends I've made just this last few years, really getting immersed in the car community, I had no idea what political aisle they were on, what side of it they were on. I frankly never cared. I liked them, and I never wanted that to change. I didn't want my brain to get messed up and start thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe they believe in that. I'm not going to be that person. I have friends today that I know everything about them, their kids' names, their families, backgrounds, histories, their happy times or bad times, the challenges, their successes. I know all of that stuff, and I don't know or care what their politics are. I believe, as I mentioned in my last video, that I believe all politicians are crooked, they're all liars. There might be one or two out there that are worth a damn, but once the system gets a hold of them and they start realizing that that position that only pays them a couple $100,000 a year, and yes, I said only, because they leave office worth millions and millions of dollars in comparison. Yes, a U.S. senator makes about $174,000 a year. When they go into office, yet so many of them, the really, I think, shady and smart ones, come out worth millions, or shortly after leaving office, they are suddenly delicate geniuses that have every single good pick on the stock market. Every decision they've ever made suddenly just hits. It's like you gambled in Vegas your whole life and never won, and then you did something, you went somewhere, you became a politician, and then suddenly your luck wildly improved and every single slot machine started to hit. That, I think we all have to admit, is kind of ironic, kind of crazy, and kind of suspect. So regardless of which party you believe in, I'm going to be able to show you they all do it. They're all doing it. You've got to figure out where your principles lie and pick the lesser of two evils. That's the best you can do. I think that's the best I can do. And am I jaded? No, man. I served our country for 4 years in the United States Air Force. When I joined, I didn't know who I was ever going to vote for. Even when I was in the Air Force, I voted for who I liked the most when I watched them on TV and who I felt I could trust the most. And I don't know that I was right when I was voting. I voted both parties back then. Certainly changed today, but it doesn't change how I feel about you. So hopefully everything I share with you right now doesn't change how you feel about me. I got that out of the way, and it doesn't matter. There's still going to be some thick-skulled, smooth brain out there that's going to go, but you believe in this, and tear me apart like this guy did in the last video. I had like 80, 90 comments, and they were all positive, and I had one guy get on there and rip me to shreds and call me a fat, bald guy, which, yeah, I'm sensitive to that. I'm a little fat right now. He called me chubby, and he called me bald. Well, I still have like 90% of my hair, but I have this enormous forehead, so maybe that's what he meant. But it still was unnecessary to take a personal shot of my appearance. I'm a guy in his early 50s that is hanging on for dear life. I've got a beautiful wife, an amazing kid, a phenomenal career, a good nest egg, and some awesome cars and some great friends. And I'm a solid 10 to 15 fatter than I need to be right now. And sorry, don't say that. That's just hilarious. Anyways, because I just said that, you're all going to say it, and it doesn't matter. But just know that I'm not looking for a fight. I'm not looking for a fight. I'm looking just to help share some information with those who may not know this stuff. When it comes to the whole EV farce that I've been calling it forever. I've done videos about this. I've tried to make this point over and over again, yet everybody still writes in the comments and says, but you know what, Brad? EVs are coming. ICE, they're going away. The gas engines are gone. We have to get what we can get now or we're never going to get them again. They're going to be worth millions of dollars one day because we will have the last ones. I am absolutely convinced that for one simple reason, and it comes down to my socks. I cannot wash a pair of socks in the middle of summer in Southern California without taking down the whole grid in my neighborhood. If I can't wash a pair of socks on a Thursday afternoon without wiping out everybody in the neighborhood because the grid can't handle that, how in the heck are we going to be able to charge all these cars in California when our government in California squanders money like you wouldn't believe? Even when they are doing good financially, they still can't seem to fix the biggest problems we have. And they continuously refuse to invest in infrastructure. When I drive around in parts of LA, even parts of Orange County, and throughout this state, I still find myself needing to see my chiropractor and remove or put fillings back in my mouth that come out because of the horrible roads that I drive on. They're not spending the money on the simple things. Why would we think suddenly they're going to be able to spend the money on the not so simple things like charging stations? How are they going to replace all of these gas stations? Like, this is just the most simple plumber's son brain that you're talking to. And I love my dad, one of the smartest guys I know, one of the hardest working guys I know. But I am not a college-educated, college graduate. I don't have a degree. I barely made it out of high school. And by sheer will and determination, I found what I believe to be pretty great success in business. But as my wife says, you're an anomaly. You're not normal. Don't bank on that for our daughter. We're still going to send her to a college that's going to twist her brain up. And I'm good with it. College funds already put away, and she will do that. But I will tell you that we have to start using our brains on a simple level because they use big words and long diatribes on TV and in news articles to confuse us. With by 2035, they're going to remove gas engines from being able to be sold in California. But what are they going to do with the existing ones? Well, we're going to still get them. What about the ones coming from out of state? Well, right now we have that problem, as you found out with my Hellcat before. They're already restricting that stuff, but there's still many, many, many legal ways around that to get the cars here. They put a stupid stipulation to get the car to 7,500 miles, and then suddenly it's no longer a smog problem. You could bring it to California. These are insane things. There's no basis in logic or reality behind that, other than the fact that if they can continually drive prices up on gas, drive prices up on oil, drive car prices up, drive people to EV, then these politicians will become wealthy. And they will become wealthy beyond their wildest imagination to the extent that they will have created multi-generational wealth to where their kids and their grandkids will have enough money to live without working for all their lives. Now, on some core level, we have to agree that is pretty awesome to want to set your family up that well. I mean, that's something that I can get behind. I would love to be able to set my family up well so that I'd love to set up my grandkids so that their lives are beautiful and perfect someday. But I probably am not going to get that opportunity because I have a car problem. I love to buy cars. And unlike the guy in the comment that called me fat and bald, or chubby and bald, he said you're pinching nickels, and he used another word I'm not going to use, but he said I'm cheap as the day is long. I'm the opposite of cheap, but I am smart, and I am not going to be broke, and I'm never going to go bankrupt again. I've learned my lessons, and that's why I share so much stuff with all of you. So here's the deal. How are the politicians getting rich with this shutting down of the gas engines? Well, let's go ahead and look. I'm going to put something on the screen. I'm going to go through this. And by the way, again, I'm not college taught. This is just me sharing my most basic thoughts. And you're more than welcome to correct me in the comment section. But I don't think you can argue with this stuff when both parties are fleecing our country and putting all of us in this weird FOMO situation that trickles down to a simple car that gets launched a week ago, and now we're paying $100,000 and $200,000 over sticker for these things. So let's jump in. So this is the salary of a U.S. Senator in 2023. $174,000. After taxes, maybe they're getting $140,000, $150,000. Lord knows. Look, I know that's a lot of money to some people, but let's just be real. That's not wealthy. And it's depending on where you live, it's really, really like the opposite of wealthy. It's really hard to live on that. But, and by the way, making that kind of money, you're not going to get wealthy. You're going to make enough to live probably good in some areas, but you're not going to be able to invest enough to get super wealthy. So how in the heck does Hickenlooper get worth $7.8 million and so many of these other ones? Well, let's go over here. Let's start off with just the simple, wild, incredible oil profits that's been happening. If you look back at 2016, before they were jamming EV down our throat to the extent they're jamming them down our throat now, you had profits were decent. 2017, a little bit better. 2018, 2019, then you had COVID. And of course, no one was driving their cars, so of course gas prices came down. Of course, oil stocks found a bottom. But then, boom, we got back on the roads again, and there we are, massive profits. But then they started passing all kinds of laws. Then we got all kinds of new legislation restricting our ability to produce our own oil. Then we had a war. We had a war that significantly reduced the amount of oil that we could import to our country. And then forget about who's in office. The bottom line politics that we're dealing with right now are reduce the amount of oil being created, being made, and that is in direct relation to prices going up significantly. And when people say that certain pipelines and things don't affect the oil supply, what it does affect is a bunch of guys and gals in fancy suits and giant boardrooms with glass everywhere and a bunch of lawyers sitting next to them who says, look, we have to plan forward and adjust for what we believe is going to be an increase in pricing down the road, and we are not going to be able to create as much of this oil because of this, which means it's going to cost us more to create this gasoline and to fuel this country, and we need to make our profits now. Kind of like what some of you have commented that Dodge is doing with some of their cars. They're saying, hey, look, somebody commented in my last video that, well, yeah, Dodge figured out they need to make as much money as they can. Well, I'll say the dealers figured out they need to make as much money as they can this year because they don't know exactly what they're going to have next year. And they're not going to be able to have the same level of profits next year. So they're going to get as much as they can this year. It's kind of how every business works. If they know that they're going to be facing a storm down the road with all this pressure on regulation, then they got to make their money now. So anything they can do to drive the prices up and have these record astronomical double, in some cases quadruple from prior year's profits, they're going to do. And if you own stocks in these companies, you've probably done really, really well over the last 5 years. And it's funny, the correlation is the more they push EV cars down our throat and the more regulations they put on us to keep us from getting the gas cars, and the more regulations and the more crazy, things that happen in the world, like a war that take place, the more that benefits anyone who owns these energy stocks, anyone who owns these oil stocks. If you own these stocks, the war turned out to be really, really good for you. How is that okay? Like, people say, well, how do they profit from war? Well, are they selling tanks? Are they selling this? No. Yeah, certainly there's other industries that fuel this war and financially and make people wealthy. But just oil alone? My gosh, when Russia shuts us off and we start having issues with other countries and we got less oil and the president has to threaten to go into oil reserves, which means we'll have less reserves, which means we need a plan for the future, which means the oil companies raise prices again. I mean, all these things kind of are related. Then, yeah, they're going to get rich. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few of these slides. Here's the biggest fossil fuel investors in Congress. Now, this was back in 2019. It's shifted. You know what's funny is it's shifted a lot more towards a balance between both Democrat and Republican. Before, it was heavily Republican. And you know what? The way I look at it with the Republicans, not picking sides here, but they've never lied about wanting to benefit from that. It's always been, yeah, man, let's get more gas. Let's make money on gas cars. And if we were only gas cars, then yes, the demand for gas and oil would be higher, which would ultimately raise the prices and they would win. But if they reduce the amount of oil that can get created with all the regulatory issues and the EVs coming and the impending challenges of a war, well, they win anyways, because that's going to drive that's going to drive oil prices up as well, because it's scarcity. Scarcity is going to do that. Supply and demand is going to do that. So the Republicans at least give them one little chip that at least they never lied about it. Yeah, I'm going to get rich on this stuff. What sucks is they know this stuff. They know what laws are coming out. They know what policies are going to be pushed. So they know, well, I'm just going to make some money there then. And I'll keep fighting because either way I win. They're in that perfect scenario. But here's the Democrats. These articles are everywhere. Some Democrats fight big oil but are invested in its success. The hypocrisy. Now remember, I'm trying not to take sides here. Let's just deal with facts. Yes, the Republicans are invested in big oil, but the Democrats you would think wouldn't be. If they're screaming that they need to save the planet, we need to fight the greenhouse gases and the global warming and all this stuff, then why in the heck would they be investing in big oil? That seems counterproductive, counter to their entire argument. But they are. It's interesting. Here's another one. 22 Democrats. This names them. You can go read these articles. Hailed as environmental champions, have personally pumped money into companies that rely on fossil fuels. And by the way, it's not just all these companies. There are these companies right here. There are lots of other companies that are tied towards energy, natural gas, and all kinds of other fossil fuels. It's wild. There's also, if you dig a little bit deeper, you'll start finding that there's lots of politicians, families of politicians that have invested in cobalt mines and lithium mines in the Congo. They've dropped millions of dollars into these things, playing both ends. It's like spinning the roulette wheel and it lands on green every single time. You're like, how in the hell does that happen? Well, it's like putting money on red and black even. So you put $100 on red, put $100 on black, and the only risk is it lands on green. So in this case, you're going to win either way. It's a rigged system no matter how you cut it. So if the people who are screaming about EV are investing in fossil fuel stocks, I don't know about you all, I got to scratch my head and say why. Because they know that they are directly responsible for driving home policies and supporting events that will dramatically increase the profits of the oil companies. And when they are making policy that drives oil prices up, I think it kind of screams out that there might be more motivation than saving the world. both parties, remember, are guilty of this. Let's talk about the amount of money. As recent as now, 2022, last year, you can go and see all members of the House. You can click on all these and you can see from oil and gas money to Congress how much money was donated to these candidates, was given to these candidates. This is insane amounts of money, folks. Look at the amounts of money. It keeps on going. All of them. It doesn't matter. Look, Democrats, Republicans, Democrats, Republicans, Democrats, Republicans, Democrats, Republican, Republican, Democrat, 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 Republican, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican. It's all of them, Republican, Democrat. It's like 50-50 maybe even. They're all getting money from the oil companies. Why in the heck would they be taking the money? And why would these oil companies be giving them money if they were diametrically opposed in beliefs? They're not, because I believe that these politicians absolutely know that there's no way we're going all electric, but boy, is it an awesome lever to pull to make a boatload of money while they're in office, or as they get through and get out of office, or as their friends and family are investing in this stuff. I'm just telling you what I see on paper, that there's tremendous benefit to make sure that gas and oil prices are really, really high. The natural gas prices are really, really high. And the more policies they create and the more they push us down this EV road to justify this behavior, the more money they're making, and frankly, the more money they're taking from oil companies. It is unbelievable when you think about this. It's massive. This guy, $763,000, a Democrat. But right below him, there's a Republican who took $427,000. I mean, they're all crooks as far as I'm concerned. Boy, this video is probably not even going to get monetized. Let's talk about electric companies, big oil. So I put this up here just because I brought up the Hickenlooper guy. Who serves on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Wait a minute. That's interesting. Owning up to $500,000 worth of Duke Energy stock in 2020, sold $250,000 worth of Chevron stock in 2021, and he reported up to $1 million in capital gains from ExxonMobil stock. He's a Democrat. This guy is getting filthy rich. This guy makes $174,000 a year, and in the meantime, in the background, while nobody's looking, he makes a cool million. What about the rest of us? I bet you he's out there paying $300,000 for one of these Demon 170s because he's got free money that he got by voting against oil, by voting against gas engines. I mean, this is insanity. Am I alone here? Next. Yes, there are people out there. This is not true. This is fact-checking whether Biden family is, quote, heavily invested in foreign oil. No, they're not. It's not true. I'm not defending Biden at all. At all. Please don't accuse me of that one. But if it's not true, it's not true. So let's just deal with that. It's not true that they're heavily invested. But it's kind of wild that you go up here and our baby boy gets a job making millions of dollars at an energy company. Let's go right here. A Ukrainian natural gas company, and gets paid millions of dollars over several years. But he hates fossil fuels. They're worried about the global warming. I thought this family hated this stuff. This guy walks in with no qualifications whatsoever and ends up making millions of dollars. How many of you have that opportunity? These people hate the gas cars, hate the fossil fuels, want electric cars everywhere. The families create policies when they're in office against these things, yet they're out there collecting millions and working for them and helping guide them. I don't know. I smell something fishy. Next, you'll find articles like this one that's predicting a oil price crash. But what's great if you read as electric cars become more prevalent in our society, they believe that's going to just kill oil prices. Well, that's funny. That's a beautiful article to put out if you want to convince people to sell and to drop those prices so you can buy some more. Because as it says here, predictions like these are tricky at best. The best one can hope is to be more accurate than conventional wisdom, which in the oil industry is for little interest in electric cars to go forward. You would think that, but the reality of it is there's massive amounts of fossil fuels used in the creation of those cars as well that no one wants to admit to. These are facts. Look them up. So how much are they against it? I don't think they're against it because they're let's go back. They're making more money than they've ever made. They're making double years worth. They're making like 2 to 3 years worth of money in 1 year. So this is working out for them. But it's not the electric cars that are gonna take over and cause oil prices to go down. They're just gonna continue to have policies and support events that reduce the supply of oil, continuing to keep that price up. There is so many levers they can pull to force those prices up, and there's so many hundreds of millions of dollars in gas cars out there in the world, in our country today, that will need gasoline for a very, 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 very long time, and it will take decades, more than decades. I mean, it could take a century for electric vehicles to offset how many gas vehicles are out there. So this is hogwash. They'll control those prices. They won't let them go down. Check me at the end of this year and see if I'm right or wrong. How about this? It's a lot easier for Democrats to say the industry is at fault for high prices than it is to explain how climate policies have not raised prices. We know that the climate policies have directly impacted the oil prices and the gas prices. We know that. When we can't produce our own energy here, then we have to get it from somewhere else. It's going to cost more money, and then we're beholden to them. Forget about Democrat or Republican. It just is what it is. So they won't explain because they don't want us to hear it. How about this? Look at the stock prices. Look at the stock prices of these companies. The more they push EVs, the higher the prices are. Now, some are going to say, well, it's because of the war in Ukraine. Listen, before the war in Ukraine, they were higher. They were going up. It's been the heavy push towards EVs that will never fully be realized. They're going to continually sell these gas engines. They're just going to make them significantly more efficient, and they're going to make them hybrids, which are going to make way more sense and be way better for the environment no matter how you cut it. Shell Oil, same thing. And I think this is great. And I'll wrap up with this. And you can go look at this on Buffalo News, but just type in the richest politicians currently serving in Congress. And this is hilarious. So I'm just going to breeze through these things real quick. So I'm going to start. And by the way, there's 25 Democrats and 25 Republicans. So this is not partisan. It doesn't matter which party. They're all getting wealthy. At least the smart ones are knowing how to work this system. So you've got Dianne Feinstein that's worth, the most. And of course, they have stakeholders in Carlton Hotel Properties. And let's just assume that she didn't do anything with oil stocks or stocks. Then you've got this guy, Mark Warner. Let's check out him. We're just going to go through these, look real quick and breeze through here. It's early investor in Nextel, a wireless provider. Okay, forget about him. By the way, let's assume this guy, when he was making his $93 million, maybe knew which companies were going to suddenly have a big boom, or suddenly he could short them and he could make a ton of money on their failure. Next, this guy. How about this? It says, wait. Oh, no, let's skip him. Oh, number 4. Okay. $73.9 million. She made her money with the Fortune 500 company. Assets and Mitsui's names are distributed mostly among trusts. These are called blind trusts, by the way, exchange-traded funds. So we don't get to know. But that's a lot of money to make, right? To go take a $174,000 a year job? Come on. How about this? Let's see with Susan. $52 million. Now, a lot of them, yeah, they went in rich, but some of them didn't. But they were certainly richer when they got out. And her wealth is spread out among real estate investments, Microsoft stock, mutual funds. Let me guess. She probably had some policies, some leaning towards votes that would make these things improve in value significantly, and it was probably strategic. What's really fun is a lot of these folks have been investigated. And then you got Pelosi with $50 million. And here's what's fun. The only asset she shares jointly with her husband are Napa Valley property. and joint Wells Fargo checking account with less than $15,000. Let's all take a moment, feel bad. Poor Nancy's broke. The rest of her wealth, the $46 million, is technically owned by her husband and is spread among stock in companies like Disney, Tesla, electric car company, Netflix, and Salesforce. So did Netflix have some wild swings this last couple years where some people were made poor and then suddenly made really rich? Interesting, the stocks that he happens to be very smart and fortunate in having great timing on to become this wealthy. And by the way, she's been in Congress for freaking ever. So how about this guy? 39.7 million. Here it's he has other assets, include government securities, water bonds. Interesting. You've got this one here, co-owner of alcohol-related Total Wine & More, which is great. I'm sure he was pushing to make sure that this never had any issues. But here's the deal. His assets are distributed mutual funds, stocks, again. I don't know about you all, but let's all just take a minute and think, how many of us talking to each other right now have been heavily invested in stocks and became wealthy in stocks? Like, I play with stocks. I have some stocks, and I've made money, I've lost money, but in no way am I having generational wealth generated from there. But all these folks are suddenly stock geniuses when they're in office. How about this guy? Stock portfolio, real property, government securities owned by his spouse. It's another way they do it. And then commercial properties. So how about this one? This guy, $27 million. This gal makes $174,000 and then $27 million in the bank. This is awesome. So Alphabet, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Netflix, Snap, and others. Assets solely held by Kaplan include rental properties, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, and additional stocks. Love to know what they all are. How about this guy? $24 million. How about this? He owns a large array of stocks in a consolidated blind trust. All right. Stocks again. How about this gal? So according to Business Insider, Jacob more than $6 million in Qualcomm's stock, a semiconductor company co-founded by Jacob's grandfather. So not bad there. How about this one? Holds stock in Coca-Cola, Home Depot, IBM, and Johnson & Johnson. Let's talk about Johnson & Johnson. That sounds very familiar. Did they make a vaccine? Was his timing just perfect? His timing was perfect. These guys are so brilliant. I mean, man, I wish I was as smart as them to know when things were coming and how it was going to flesh out. How about this? $15.6 million, mostly in mutual funds, stocks again, and Full House Resorts. And let's go up here. How about this guy? $13 million, real property and stocks, apartment complexes, Coca-Cola, Comcast, ExxonMobil, General Electric, Intel, IBM, Microsoft, ExxonMobil. Anyone? How about this guy? This is Hickenlooper. Even more when assets in his spouse's name are factored in. Of course, his portfolio includes government securities, mutual funds. He was late to disclose stock trades of nearly 1.2 million, as well as hundreds of thousands of dollars of stock offloads undertaken by his wife. I'm sure it was all just above board and honest. Now, here's the deal. I can keep going, and you're going to start seeing all kinds of a pattern going on here. So, and some of them are pretty interesting when you start looking in. Of course, they're all stocks. All these people got really wealthy playing with stocks. So we'll come up to, let's just cruise up. You can read all these later. But here's what's fun, because somebody's going to say, yeah, you're just bashing on the Democrats. No, we can go let's go to the Republicans, man. This is the Republicans, okay? The Republicans, same thing. Securities, real estate. Let's see here. Let's go to the next one. Includes Accenture stocks while sitting in the House, Homeland Security Committee trading UPS shares after a congressional hearing. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. He demonstrated a range of potential conflicts of interest. Oh, shocker, that include IBM, Accenture stocks, trading UPS shares after a congressional hearing where the USP executive testified in trading Meta investments during congressional investigations into the company's handling of misinformation. come on, man. I mean, this is inside job. This guy, $115 million. Like, oh, you remember this guy? This guy is great by having interest in a large car alarm industry. Nothing would benefit this man more than having car theft go up. Think about this. But here's the deal. He was the richest member after earning a fortune working in the car alarm industry. He's now being investigated by the Department of Justice for potentially being involved with the Fortenberry scandal. All right. So another crookedness. How about this? This guy has 113 million, 4 investigations against him for illegal, unethical business practices and campaign finances. Oh my gosh. And this guy, he lives not far from where I go to work sometimes. $89.3 million. And he made a bunch of money before. He was definitely rich going in, like some of them. You can go up to, how about this one? Trey became involved with House Financial Services Committee. Then the representative disclosed that he bought between 500,000 1 million in shares in National Bank of Canada. I'm sure he didn't have any inside information as that being a good buy. He just dropped that kind of coin there. Another 67 million real estate investments. According to Open Secrets, his residence alone is $15 million on a $174,000 salary. These guys are amazing. $60 million here. He was an heir to a supermarket chain. So, hey man, maybe he might be one that actually didn't make his money, other than just having the right parents. All right, so number 9. I think you all get it. I don't need to go on and on. We can go through all these folks at $39 million. It's just interesting to look at what they invest in and how related it is to things they have inside information on. So it just keeps going. Whether they're Democrat or Republican folks, the bottom line is that I believe we're getting played on this EV thing. I believe we're getting totally played. That no matter how we cut it, they're going to push that down our throat, and then they're going to have to walk it back, and then the gas engines are going to come back, and they're going to keep coming, but they're going to become more efficient because they actually should. The good balance will probably be hybrid motors. Somebody commented that, could you imagine, what if they do the twin-turbo Hurricane 6 in a Charger or some other really cool muscle car with 3 or 4 hybrid motors at the same time to drive that torque through the ceiling? We would have a rocket ship. We would have a plaid killer. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I believe is in our future. And I'll tell you, I love the Hemis, but they've been around forever. And because they've been around forever, yes, at some point they needed to probably retire them. And it breaks my heart because I love them. But as efficient as they've been able to make them over the years, and it is amazing that they can get a Hellcat to get 16, 18 miles the gallon, it's still not good enough. And they need to get these things to where they're in the 20s, the mid-20s, even somehow into the 30s, and it will make sense economically for all of us with what we know is going to happen with gas prices and oil constrictions, and that there will always be a flip-flop with the parties, driving both forces to make sure that they all continue to build generational wealth. We are simply pawns in this, but we can't fall for the game. If they come out with a twin-turbo 6-cylinder that keeps up with the Scat Pack and almost keeps up with the Hellcat 0 to 60, we're all going to be scratching our head, especially if it's got tons more technology, new dashes, all kinds of cool seating, and really just an amazing car. We're going to be going, oh man, I want that thing. Or we're going to say, no, it's got to have a Hemi in it at 16 miles the gallon. What if you can get 25 miles the gallon in a twin-turbo 6? And what if they bring a hybrid that will smoke any of our Hemis? I mean, I don't know, folks. I'm thinking we might shift there. I don't want the EV. I'm not playing that game. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it philosophically or morally. I think there's too many bad things surrounding it. But I absolutely believe that we're all getting duped. And in the end, they ain't going all electric. And we need to wake up and realize that and stop saying these are the last gas engines ever. And I'll end with this. That when Tim Kuniskis said, we're going to allow our dealers or I'm sorry, we're going to build cars that were sold without markups. We're going to build those cars first. Now, I don't know about you all, but I loved him. I love that guy. I can watch him talk about cars all day, every day. I believe in my heart and in his heart, maybe he actually thought that was a good idea. And somebody above him or in his team said, say that. That'll sound really, really good. As he's thanking his wonderful dealers for what they do in selling cars, which is hosing the daylights out of us. But when he said that, I don't know about all of you, but it only took me about a nanosecond to go, how many of these dealer owners now are going to buy up their own allocations with no markups and then get them all built first and then flip them to us for massive amounts of money? They're going to be competing against each other to get their cars built first, so the biggest dealers are going to be able to buy their cars themselves. Owners are going to buy them. The friends are going to buy them. They're going to turn around and sell them as used. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist. But I know this is a long video, so I'm going to end it now. Please, just know, I appreciate you all. And I just share this stuff just so that we can all come together as consumers, as customers, and think clearly, be honest with each other, not get into the weeds with the politics. They'll try to divide us from each other and hate each other every single chance they get, because both parties win if we hate each other. Both parties, either party, if one of them makes us hate each other, then they've got a loyal voter that keeps them in office getting super wealthy. I can get into my beliefs that are a little bit deeper and might become polarizing, so I'm not going to. I'll just say this. If you're American, if you love these cars, if you love cars in general, I'm your friend. I would have a beer with you. We would not do it while we're driving, but we would hang out. We could sit in my backyard, smoke cigars, and talk about all this stuff. And I don't care who the hell you voted for. I don't care. I like you because you like the things I like. And in the end, I believe that's what makes our country great. Let's find our common ground rather than look for what divides us. With that, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, be respectful, or you'll just get deleted. If you're nasty and you call me chubby and you call me bald, you're getting deleted. I'm sorry. I don't want that in my comments. But if you're respectful, I'm going to leave it there. That's what I'm going to do. You might slip one by me. Most likely you won't. Take care. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.